Golden State Warriors fans, buckle up, because things are getting tense in the Bay. The situation between Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors still hasn't cooled off, even a week after he put pen to paper on that 2-year deal. Now, yeah, it's only been 7 days, and that kind of tension doesn't just disappear overnight. There's still frustration, there's still some bruised egos, and honestly, you can feel that both sides are still trying to figure out how to move forward after everything that went down during the contract talks. From Kuminga's point of view, you can understand the frustration. He's young, ambitious, and believes he's ready to take the next big step in his career. But from the Warriors' side, there's the sense that they've seen this story before, a talented player, full of potential, still learning how to fit into a championship system built around Steph, Clay, and Draymond. It's not an easy balance, and that's exactly where the tension comes from. Still, this isn't a lost cause. Relationships heal with time, and the fastest way for that to happen is with wins on the court. Kuminga's preseason debut gave us a taste of what he can bring. Energy, athleticism, that raw spark that makes him so fun to watch. Sure, it's just preseason basketball, but you could see flashes of what he could become if everything clicks. And let's be real, if he goes out on Wednesday against Portland and drops a strong performance, that's the kind of thing that can change the mood quickly. The Trail Blazers aren't exactly a powerhouse right now, and this is a perfect chance for Kuminga to make a statement. 25 points, a few highlight plays, show the team and Coach Steve Kerr that he's not just a piece of the puzzle. He's ready to be a focal point. Now, if he keeps that momentum going but still finds himself stuck in limited minutes or playing out of position, that could keep the tension alive. Because at the end of the day, all this comes down to opportunity and fit. Kuminga wants to prove he could be the next star in Golden State, but the Warriors are juggling veteran priorities and title ambitions. And with the trade window opening up in January, that's when the real questions start. Will the Warriors stick with Kuminga and trust in his growth? Or could we see him wearing another jersey by midseason? There's already chatter around the league. Teams like Miami, Chicago, Sacramento, even Phoenix are keeping tabs. Each of them sees something different in Kuminga. The Heat love his athleticism and defensive upside. The Bulls see a young forward who could grow into a franchise cornerstone. The Kings have been eyeing him since draft night, and the Suns could use him to bring some youth and explosiveness into their rotation. The possibilities are there, but everything depends on how this next stretch of games goes. If Kuminga starts the season strong, Golden State's front office has leverage. His value rises, and suddenly they can look for the kind of return that could fill some of their glaring holes, especially at center. That's been the soft spot for this roster, and it's something everyone around the team knows. They've tried small ball solutions, they've tried rotating veterans, but sooner or later they'll need size, rim protection, and rebounding. And if moving Kuminga can get them that piece, you better believe they'll think about it. On the flip side, if Kuminga struggles early, if the inconsistency comes back, if he gets hurt, or if his offensive game stalls out, that changes everything. His trade value dips, and the Warriors lose their best young asset to reshape the roster. Then the question becomes whether they ride it out and hope he figures it out, or whether they sell low before things get worse. It's a tricky situation, because the Warriors don't just want to move him for the sake of it. They want something real in return, ideally a starting caliber player and a future first-round pick. That's where the trade speculation gets interesting. Picture this. The Kings start the season poorly, the chemistry isn't there, and suddenly they're open to shaking things up. Someone like DOMANTAS Sabonis could come into play. Now, it's a long shot, sure, but it's not impossible. Sabonis would fit beautifully next to Steph, a skilled big man who can pass, rebound, and stretch the floor. The Warriors would have to throw in a couple of contracts to make it work, but imagine that lineup with Sabonis in the middle. The rest of the West would definitely start sweating. The Suns could also circle back with a better offer than they had this summer. They've got depth pieces like Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and Nick Richards that could come into play. It wouldn't be a flashy move, but it would give Golden State more balance across the roster. Though, let's be honest, the Warriors don't need more small guards, and adding another one would just crowd the backcourt. They've been down that road before. Remember when Monta Ellis and a young Stephen Curry were trying to coexist? That didn't last long, and for good reason. Two undersized guards just don't win championships together. Then there's Chicago, which might actually make the most sense. The Bulls have a handful of expiring contracts and could use a player like Kuminga to inject some youth and energy into their lineup. They'd probably be willing to part with a first-round pick if it's protected and maybe attach someone like Nikola Vucevic or even Zach Collins for salary purposes. That kind of deal would give the Warriors a big body and a pick, two things they've been hunting for. Miami is the wild card. Pat Riley runs that organization with an iron fist, and while the Heat culture is strong, it's not always the right environment for players who clash with management. If Kuminga couldn't find common ground with the Warriors' front office, you have to wonder how that would play under Riley's no-nonsense system. It could be a perfect match, or it could be another Rondo to Dallas situation, a big name that just doesn't fit the vibe. But while all that trade talk keeps floating around, there's one guy who might quietly become the Warriors' most important player outside the core, Quinn Post. He's young, raw, but has real potential. The Warriors are already starting to give him more preseason minutes, and that's key because he's likely to be part of a two-man center rotation with Al Horford once the regular season kicks off. Draymond can fill in for short stretches, but at 35 years old, he can't be banging with big centers night after night. Post is still learning. There were moments last game where he looked lost, but you could also see flashes of promise. He spaces the floor well, can hit from deep, and plays with confidence when he's given room to operate. Pairing him with Horford at the 4 and 5 creates a really interesting dynamic because both are stretch bigs who can shoot above 40% from 3. That spacing opens the floor for guys like Steph and even Draymond when he's facilitating from the wing. And speaking of that, seeing Draymond slide back to the 3 could be one of the smartest tweaks Kerr makes this year. He's not going to play like a traditional wing, but putting him on the perimeter lets him read the floor and create plays in ways we haven't seen since his early days. That combination of vision, passing, and basketball IQ could turn the Warriors' offense into something new again. So, while everyone's eyes are on Kuminga and his future, don't forget what's brewing in the frontcourt. If Post develops the way the staff hopes and Horford stays healthy, the Warriors might quietly solve their biggest problem from last season. But make no mistake, Wednesday's preseason game against Portland is going to tell us a lot. If Kuminga dominates, if Post looks steady, and if the new rotations click, the Warriors could enter the regular season with some serious momentum. As the Warriors gear up for the new season, the clock is already ticking on every storyline surrounding this team. Jonathan Kuminga's future, Quinn Post development, the balance between the veterans and the young guys. Everything is under a microscope. And what makes it all even more fascinating is how fragile the chemistry feels right now. You can sense that this group knows it's standing on a thin line between another deep playoff run and a season full of hard questions. The truth is, Golden State doesn't have the luxury of time anymore. Steph Curry is still playing at an elite level, but he's not 25 anymore. Draymond Green, as brilliant as he is on defense, can't play 40 minutes of small ball center every night. Klay Thompson is fighting to rediscover his rhythm, and the young core that was supposed to ease the transition to the next era hasn't fully stepped into that role yet. That's why Kuminga's situation matters so much. He's supposed to be that bridge between the dynasty years and whatever comes next. But right now, that bridge is shaking. There's still hope, though. Everyone in the Warriors organization knows Kuminga has the tools. The athleticism, the physical strength, the flashes of shot creation. They're all there. What's missing is consistency and the right environment to let him grow without constantly worrying about being yanked after one mistake. The problem is that this team doesn't really have the patience for long-term development anymore. They're in win-now mode, and that puts pressure on every possession, every rotation, every game. That's where Coach Kerr finds himself in a tough spot. He's trying to balance the veterans who have earned their minutes with the younger players who need them to progress. When Kuminga or Moody make a defensive error, it's magnified because every game feels important for a team chasing another title. But if those young guys never get the chance to play through mistakes, they'll never reach their potential. That's the tug-of-war that defines the current version of the Warriors. If the Warriors stumble early, the noise is only going to get louder. You'll start hearing trade rumors daily, not just about Kuminga, but about Buddy Hield, Moody, even some of the bench pieces who haven't quite found their rhythm. The front office knows they can't let this drag on for months. January 15th is the first big date, because that's when Kuminga becomes trade eligible. And depending on where the Warriors sit in the standings, that could turn into one of the most dramatic mid-season storylines in the league. Let's imagine two possible paths. If Golden State is winning, hovering near the top of the Western Conference, they'll probably keep Kuminga and ride it out. The thinking would be that if the team chemistry is working and Kuminga is contributing, there's no need to blow things up. But if the team is struggling, say, sitting around the play-in zone, that's when calls start happening. Teams like the Bulls or the Heat could see an opening and make an offer the Warriors can't ignore. The Bulls make the most sense as a trade partner simply because they've got expiring contracts and are desperate for young talent. Someone like Nikola Vucevic would immediately fill Golden State's need for a real center, and attaching a first-round pick would make the deal even more appealing. From Chicago's perspective, Kuminga would give them a young forward to build around alongside Josh Giddey. It's a move that could work for both sides, but it all depends on how each team looks by the time the new year rolls around. The Heat are trickier. They love hard-nosed players who can defend, and Kuminga fits that mold on paper. But Miami also runs on structure and accountability. If there's even a hint of conflict between Kuminga and management again, it could go south quickly. And once that happens, Riley wouldn't hesitate to move on. Still, it's a risk a team like Miami might take if they feel like one more athletic forward could push them over the top. The Suns remain an interesting wild card. They've already been linked to Kuminga before, and if they start slow, they could revisit that conversation. The idea of swapping depth pieces like Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal for a younger, high-upside player would make sense. But the Warriors have to be careful. They don't want to fill their roster with more small guards and shooters who don't solve their size problem. They need balance, someone who can help them match up against the Jokic's and Sabonises of the world. That brings us back to the Warriors' own development plan. Quantum Post is the key to unlocking a new identity for this team. If he grows fast enough, the Warriors can afford to stay patient with Kuminga. But if he struggles or looks unready for regular season minutes, the pressure to make a move increases. Post's ability to stretch the floor, hit threes, and defend without fouling could make him one of the biggest X factors this season. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In what is already being whispered as one of the most unexpected moves of the NBA offseason, DOMANTAS Sabonis has reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal with the Golden State Warriors, sending shockwaves across the United States. The news, still unofficial but circulating feverishly among insiders and on social media, has left fans, analysts, and even fellow players in disbelief. Sabonis, known for his versatile play in the paint, impressive passing, and relentless work ethic, has long been considered a cornerstone for whichever team he suited up for, making this rumored move all the more eyebrow-raising. Sources suggest that the Warriors, fresh off another thrilling playoff run, are eager to bolster their front-court depth and pair Sabonis' unique skill set with the sharpshooting and championship pedigree of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. If true, the acquisition could redefine Golden State's offensive and defensive schemes, offering a more dynamic inside-out game that could challenge every Western Conference contender. Speculation is rampant about how Sabonis' ability to stretch the floor and operate as a high IQ facilitator might complement the Warriors' already fluid system, potentially giving them an edge in both regular season matchups and the postseason. The reaction online has been instantaneous. Fans are split between excitement over the potential powerhouse lineup and skepticism about how Sabonis' style will mesh with Golden State's fast-paced, perimeter-oriented offense. Some critics point to spacing concerns, while others argue that his consistent rebounding and playmaking could make the Warriors nearly impossible to guard. Meanwhile, rival teams are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, with whispers of potential trades and strategic adjustments already circulating in league circles. Even more intriguing is the timing. Sabonis' decision to sign now, amid a flurry of off-season moves, signals that he may be chasing more than just a paycheck. It could be a strategic play for a title run, aligning his career trajectory with one of the most decorated dynasties in modern basketball. As the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear. If this rumor proves true, the NBA landscape may never look the same, and the Golden State Warriors could be on the brink of assembling a roster that blends seasoned veterans with a new, transformative talent in DOMANTAS Sabonis. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.